हेलो। नमस्कार गिरिदा। ऐकारस्य निवतकरर्या। हेलो। ऐकारस्य हेलो 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 हेलो। ऐकारस्य टीम्स रिलॉन्च करना समझना। हेलो।
Available in IST.
ఓ సరే సరే సరే
మీ బ్యాకప్ రికార్డింగ్ ఎన్నయ్యా విష్ణు?
विष्णु लाइव ओके गी रिकॉर्ड करने गी
ओके हेलो। ನೀವು ಅತೆಗರೆ ಕೊಂಗಿಂಗ ಐಕಾರ್ನಿ
आता इगारस
ಅತೆಕಾರಸ್ಯ
इगारा
ಓ ಸೂಪರ್ मी आता लाइव रिकॉर्डिंग अभी हरमान केतरी असी बैकअप रिकॉर्डिंग कलानी क्या नमन केरुवाई कौन दी अवेलेबल टिल
लाइव अनो इरमने द बैकअप पजोना है
ओके लाइव जीली से आता कौन दी तला लाइव मुली चेक केरुवाई लाइव लिंक में शेयर कर रस लाइव
ఓకే
लिंक
చెక్ చేస్తా.
हाँ ओके ओके
इगारस विष्णु you're audible सही सही इगारस कौन सौर्यम Oh, sorry. Okay. If in case the doubt mana rather when record kettundadu backup.
Okay. Radha Setaya, Aurasya.
Audio
Namaskar.
hour.
मी वतगर्री audio hour सी आता मी enable करेया. Desktop audio भी I केले होदेरस. So audio is fine. Many more idea. YouTube कोना
Yes.
इकारस.
YouTube में I can hear in YouTube also.
Okay. Super.
Hello, Astikon, sorry. Giri here.
Super gan jili se.
Very good. Excellent.
Bangara fast gan jili se layer.
I already 50% over.
Bangara fast.
That is good. Okay. The Kaya everything again join Kinatamo. We'll take 2 minutes, just quick introduction about what you're doing, and then he will take over. Okay. And Ganesh timing is 6:30 to 8. So here some other commitment I have beyond 8. So maybe a few minutes we can spend, but otherwise you have to close the session.
Asking namaskar.
Hi, Mahesh.
Hey Vishnu. Hey, one second more screen share or same in talsi keldenga. Screen hours, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Full screen in those. Ada hours, yes, Sambo.
Yeah, it's visible, Mahesh.
Okay, ma. Good. All right.
We'll wait for a few minutes, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I have official time at 6:30, so we are early here. So anything interesting anybody would like to share? Actually, interesting thing, Radha, Rashmi, she has joined from US, and I see Kumarish Malli, he is also from US. Good, thanks joining, taking your time to the early morning here, yeah, and thank you. Right.
Absolutely.
Very true. Nice. Yeah, good. So we'll make it more effective. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, Sikathamni on the motivation gonna see. So I think it's good. அங்க சுலபர் சத்யாவி இட்ஸ் ஜஸ்ட் கிக் ஸ்டார்டிங் த வீக்கெண்ட் மாதிரி சத்த.
Nice.
But ICU sessions ஆக்கியதமாம் it's really been good. Maybe I'm not in fully tech and AI, but LSIKAV very helpful can this to get into the tech side.
Yeah, correct. See, I don't know. I'm sure you're all watching news. Me kai kalsu devi kalsu param you know, Microsoft is planning a layoff coming next week. So every company is cutting down the manpower, whatever the reason. Okay, but if you are not upgrading yourself, there's chances that you'll be impacted. So the key mantra to stay in the profession strongly, you know, upgrading yourself. So these are the opportunities what we are creating, and not only just upgrading yourself. One time, you know how you can progress in career and also pay back. It's an opportunity to pay back to the society also. So hope there will be more volunteers to come, mentors come and take sessions. Mahesh was Mari. Yeah, thanks Mahesh. Yeah, officially we'll thank you later, but unofficially thank you.
Maybe actually Tunga, thanks Sangana, and Vishnu, thanks Sangana. This was actually a forum given to me. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Aileen, I'm Chokot Kerala Minaria. Angu Kai Kerwa, time to time, think through and please share. Angu Kona effective and Kerwa Minata. More, good, like, somebody, writing saying that, okay, this session helped me in passing to the interview or up in the Marunda. I got this knowledge, I got promotion in my office. And even, we want a success story, right? And those things will be very helpful. Outcome. Result based.
ఫ్యూచర్ మవి అలా చొక్కడుంట ఫారం గన్ అని ఎదురు సవాయి కమ్నత్ జుకు విషయం మేము సికారియా రీచ్ होता जुकू मेनगान अवन भी एक्सपेक्ट करा दिया.
Yeah, actually signed people like 450 there. I know call se 530 people have signed up for this forum. So of course people have commitment. So we should find out suitable timing also. I mean, gave also sign up weekday here. So maybe it is convenient for some people, but that time, tell time, mother minus null full day. So we had to send nothing. So again, we are back to weekend. So optimist carrying. So now, full time will shoot too many. And Takalana. Different career we need to reminder in the kind of area. So tell me, error is Angu Kona affecting it.
Saturday best, the Sunday heavy. I think it's a very difficult time for everybody.
Right. Weekday. Yeah, well, I'm Thursday.
Okay, weekday.
Vishnu care session, yeah, just say agentic, Okay, great. 6:32. We'll just get going, and I'm sure many people will join. Ganesh, Mahesh, I'll just take 2 minutes for quick introduction. Okay. I'm sharing your screen.
Sure.
Go, it's okay, I mean. Okay. So first of all, thanks everyone asking the namaskar at the joint category time. I mean, sourashtra professions many, I mean, Bangalore start career, but it's going good. I'm see area, all over world people are joining. This is purely knowledge share, tech share, and focused on career growth, which is this idea. So like on many so basically seasoned professionals and of course those who are entering in the professional career, and most of the people here are all basically learned in a way with the various lessons. Of course, not wins all the time, also from losses. And let's focus of this group is career and how we can go ahead with the latest trends, technology trends or whatever trends we'll adopt so that it will help us in our career growth. And also we are also building, contributing to the community. So how we can do it is through connections, collaborations. And then see, somebody is presenting doesn't mean that we are also continuous learners. So I'm Siki, the latest not only technology world, any world you take. I mean, I know as we mentioned, it's professional, not only IT. Every professional will be a part of this. So irrespective professional mind, what is latest? I mean, we'll bring to this forum. That's the idea. And that is one thing, learning and is one thing, but the important thing is job opportunities. ಅದರ ಕಂಪನಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೈರ್ ಕರೋದು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಗೆರುವ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಕೆತ್ತಿ ಮೊಟ್ಟು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾತಾಡು ಇಫ್ somebody is responding, we would like them to guide through, not anything, but at least ask them, prepare them for the interview, and if possible review their resume and see to that person at least called for interview. I mean, so that the opportunity is well utilized from here. So that is the idea of the forum, mentoring as well as availing the opportunity. And lamari webinars hum conduct kar rahe, workshops hum conduct kar rahe, and in addition coaching for career growth. Adu kaun the pressure mobile pade I'm not clear, we completely provide the coaching for them. So join karta hai the Google form karte ella fill up karegi, we'll definitely, because not that we don't want to just add you, we want to know about you so that we can reach out if need anything from you, as well as good to know each other, Lamari. And I mean, the WhatsApp group for this, the WhatsApp group, we do exchange messages about us. Particularly cloud workshop, I mean, at the start period, cloud fundamentals series by Mahesh. So two sessions, these sessions and the next Saturday same time 6:38. And following that, depending on audience request as well as and interest, we'll bring out more cloud-related workshops. Like what we are planning is advanced level or multi-cloud. Right now, the focus is AWS, Google Cloud or Azure Kona, I mean, different expensive, right? Plan. So it's up to you. Audience response, feedback should be WhatsApp messaging device or email at sourashtra@gmail.com. Complete word with the sourashtra with the plural email. Okay. Thank you very much. The question chat message or WhatsApp. And now I welcome Mahesh. Mahesh, all the stage viewers. Thank you.
Thanks, Girida, for setting the context and talking about Saurashtra Professional Group. Sorry, askidanga namaskar. Me keke musaraski tikeke Saurashtra vatayar the try garusi. But pardon me. Suppose English kavarasi or Tamil kavarasi manasnadi. And let's make it more interactive. To me questions kaidi se manasnadi. Feel free to raise your hands or interrupt karna. Slide musnaika one slide musnaika me pass the usi so that you can see. Let me share my screen first. Okay, more screen the karasi askidanga.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Okay. Full screen the karasi adunga tha or presenter mode the karasi.
Yeah, full screen.
Okay, super. Thank you. So first of all, me I agree that again Vishnu ku thank you. Actually me group maybe in fact active and hode nahi, but then since me avi AWS काम कर रही है, lot of workshop कर रही है, हमने सीधी विष्णु automatic and उधर बोई हमारी कई घंटा करता हूँ सही है मैं कहूँ that's how it all started. So thanks goes to Girida and Vishnu. So let's get started. In the session काय मना समझना cloud पति उनका introduction देते हैं overall, probably first 15 minutes. तेवलाद we will try to go deep into AWS basic fundamental services tele plan. Morana Magesh Babu Puliyadi, so from Madurai. So first start kartam dari kai karenga mas no quick on the baseline karenga. I think as of now me last saatol no 32 33 ber hodasi askidanga introduction khallate wo kestamo dehali kai girwai mas no quick baseline karenga. If you can askidano menti.com login karuwa tero mobile mo on the vote code pusai tela vote code avi ella code 47221210 kai garata try garariya nadi tunga ikka level AW cloud kalai sila ber kalai chukku kalai rasi sila ber kalai rani manasna at least mokonam ni kalai second avi tunga pura AWS account segi in himni kandupichada uchisi. So to me asking just if you can log into menti.com with this vote code, that will help. Okay.
मतलब code
already
ना
now
नाम
the
क्या
response
टाइप होगा?
screen name said that
Oh,
47221210.
oh yeah, I'm seeing the type. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Menti screen the karasi askidanga.
Yeah, it's visible. Just repeat kete Mahesh and our code. Screen much easy.
Okay. Code avi 47221210 menti.com mo.
That is the
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So as of now we have 36 people. So I think almost avi at 2022 response already. Okay, very good. So LM is at wait ke liye ho gaya. So we don't have much of experts or people who have worked in cloud for a long time. Chukudano cloud work kartanu same as madi this probably would not serve them. So mostly who are beginners who have just started konka vi cloud pati chukku kalana agi tenka session chukku helpful hoyi and who have already worked tenkamli wo help hoyi because maybe concepts were detailed and explain karan jariya some of the concept at least specific to AWS. That's the idea. So we'll see. So I think almost at 30 பேர் 28 பேர் enter karrasi. So I think it will be beneficial to all. Okay, so the next question jiyenga quick no. Okay, next question avi turajal ikkedanga AWS account same nade but AWS account here is a session attend kartam same ni na already tunga prerequisites that you the document mo kona account create kartamani a simple process 4-step process. So I mean the account create kari in the time spent kennano. Okay, so you can go through the documentation public available. I mean the ASCII session sanjari ASCII avi public domain available. So AWS account kona create करता है मनी step by step guide ASCII से था तेरा website तुम सियास में समझी तुमको कलाई है ये. So all that it requires is a credit card. konti students in same na tenga credit card motam mo tura parents al konti khalluvo. It's not going to charge you maybe 1 rupee charge gari just credit card verify karayi as long as tumi free tier limit mu use kar rasi में problem hona. Okay, so I think now the context is set. So we have at least half of the crowd with AWS account. So good starting point. So now let's get back to the session. Okay, second. Okay, all right. I hope screen the karasinata.
Yes, Mahesh.
Okay, Mike, good. All right. So in the Kai cover Karanjari in the next 1.5 hours, Kai cover Karanjari. First, we will start with cloud computing overview. Ilavi cloud agnostic, common for all clouds, right? AWS, Azure, GCP, Kai Khalas memory, all the concepts are common. Next, we have foundational services Sanjari. So first 3 services I am planning to cover today. Most probably we will be able to cover too many level here because me kai garta try kare hamna first concept explain ketti te holladavi we will do as much demo as possible. Okay, so demo kertolu tunga account same nasnadi tumimli mor sangadi follow gele kirwai and then if you are stuck I can help you. Musarani turajal account nahi nasnadi tumi avi homework mari exercise mari kirwai. ASCII daga tutorials available. ASCII avi public domain am seta me link me share karos. Okay. So the LS plans. So first we'll talk about overview of cloud computing, then 3 foundational services: compute, EC2, EBS and serverless. They will have the storage specifically S3 vatagarada. They will have the IAM. Okay. So most probably me compute and storage musai and he just IAM we will do next session. Okay. They will have the another 3 services we will do. So totally 6 services, foundational services. 3 we will try to do today. Me the 3 next week. Okay, so what is cloud computing? Cloud computing when you Google Wiki even Perplexity first and I can answer right? On-demand delivery of IT services over the internet, right? With pay-as-you-go pricing, right? So definition ASCII available, but concepts which ku clear and understand kenna manadu I want to give you some analogies on examples hangi kona mani siyenga. So illa pictures aanayikam tunga kaya hodana varasi
Some distribution center.
EB office.
Transformer.
Very good.
Power
So EB
transmission.
office, right? Power transmission, EB, whatever. Good, very good. So first current dekidena igamo. Current is essential. Askidanga current equipments for use karwa mini kalana igamo. We didn't even think of seri me avi current generate karusi our own me current generate karusi me tela current use kalusi mini onda danga current generate kenam nasnadi danga ikka mota tham paje ikka infrastructure paje ikka setup paje. So kai garasi nasnadi okay, this is a commodity, this is a utility ellavi kai kenam nasno the central place use keri create keri generate keri ami transmit kerenga askidanga te holladu kon ikka pajegi switch on kara ami tailenga use kelenga month end bill pay karenga or 2 months once bill pay karenga whatever, right? Worldwide LS process maybe jukku kasetana or avi kaidi very confidential projects, classified projects karari some of the industries may generate their own power. Nee manasna worldwide kai karariya aski dham avi generation taniyan ho riya, transmission taniyan ho riya, and then there's a billing meter, correct? Yeah. So people started thinking ami kaga avi suppose avi applications host kenna, for example adami askidana zero da use kararas, zepto use kararas, or say big basket use kararas, amazon app use kararas, right? Ila application pura avi mi tham dhammanna on the website dhammanna manasnadi before cloud came into effect kai hodaya manasnadi they have to host it in a server. Tela server avi on tham data center rana. Tela data center has to be managed by somebody. Telaga current, space, cooling off, generator, current GSMS imli telaga data center gavari current generate GSMS imli tunga generator paja. Tela manpower paja aski paja, right? So isani kele GSMS na nana companies pura kai kartam same na tochi one co-location mini oda concept hai, right? Co-located data centers tela kai GSMS on a shared data center ma jhudan use kelwa mini. But here imli tumi mele time tur haldi suppose मोटे server पजे मनसना मुसुना आधे इधले EB अभी तुम्ही current consume कर रहा सी मनसना दी तुम्ही अभी EB जो संगन जारी है ना मी अभी AC करन जारी है मोगा अभी power van पजे मोरो कमागो मी संगन जारी है ना, right? तुम्ही अभी AC install करन जारी है, switch देन जारी है, connection इचन जारी है, तो उधर already उनका connection से तला connection तुम्ही इक्के use कर रहा सी तले use करन जारी है तला का billing आवन जारी है. Same concept is applied for a data center or any of your services, right? IT services कौन अभी provision करता है, कौन अभी consume करता है मनता model उस so इल्ला analogy mind थोड़ हुआ अदा सिले बार मिले present करता है first question है भाई okay इल्ला अभी consumption but आना अभी मी मोरा server तलाड़ी उन्हें थाम common थाम खलिया वैसे दी मोरा data तलाड़ी जान जा रही है तल्ले मी कौन protect करता है तल्ले अभी कौन work होई मेरी तुंगा mind में आ रहा है. Okay, so I want to give you one more analogy. Illa sanayikam tunga kaya hodana varas. Anybody?
Bank locker.
Post office.
Lock.
Bank locker.
Bank locker.
Locker.
Exactly.
Bank locker.
Bank
Locker system.
Exactly. Very good. So illa bank locker. See all these problems, illa aski problems dusra shape and form already business world already illa problem solve kari thori hai. Ada original avi chukkur voice hai nadi ghumot hola da musuna te bank account ave. Tele mare original chukku important documents hai somun se aur honta ghuma avi mi locker tholu ai dari para mumbra sias na mundari man gyan bra sias na tenu wonte ga locker thai ana da locker mar kai masna avari chota locker mu cher tukli jadai. So locker gari on security thoda da musna so kai hoye si jhuku men gyan jhugiya tholna mana to locker mani aves tela locker mu sias na di our bank jolonda biad hai aur jolonda biad hai di biad hai di mutumu hudata musai bank um tumi locker bithar kai thol ri amni tega kalana anga mutumu galai. So tele mari tele locker gavi bank gavi provides lot of security safety to me siran tele bank locker gavi oda motta lohan gate dai iron gate dai oda motta kai gate jail bithar jari mari oda lock dai pura dai putai thoran there is always a security standing outside tele mari tele ga insurance kari thoran to me extra gan oda lock dai vai locker um sias mesnadi oda extra gan oda lock tailor mari hai tele locker to me biat hulwai. So now try to bring all these things together. Adavi first naigam motura data center tumi tholna mani devani tura server avi tumi cloud code pana tholu ai mni mannaika man kana ga concern kaam nasnadi more data tu kona safe kan thole mni mannaika people started showing various analogies tumi avi want a central thamumo certified with so many regulations, certified on a cloud providers provides lot of security safety measures. As long as tumi aski safety measures, security measures correct use kare as masmadi tumi tora data manage kare somar secure gan manage karo I cloud mo. Another point. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure concept which clear gan thana mana dochi analogies pura diya. So we'll move on to the next slide. Kubimo a slide mu kolladi on slide doubts raise your hands or somebody one of you can manage and questions why no problem interrupt karo, feel free to interrupt if you have questions. Okay. Great. So we'll move.
Magesh, one question. Ikkadi remly, safety remly, cloud provider we able to see the data na. Adadu mutual understanding, mutual understanding, toy mogonda mutual understanding, me more data sana. But the possibility is there. For example, the US cloud khaleri in the US government avi tol posadaluku to customer the sange mi dana miti ana background avi to data fully data musai.
Okay. Locker example diya karanam. For example, adele locker avi say for example ad the biadhai. Tegadalonda biadhai, bangalore biadhai, ourzonda biadhai. To me, police will complain cannot avarikim. Same example you said, US government, right? Police will complain cannot avarikim. Bank avi the locker hudavana. The locker bitar kaigan riasmas medimli. Unless there is a safety issue or kunki complaint the agalavi ranata jaman thola jaman avi terrorist jaman mari ela mari se or more amount of biad gonda iya manatolmli police complaint the avasmnes medi mutumu huratamusai. Right, without a police complaint avi then huratam musuna hudas nadi to mikya case tawai insurance tawai then so nothing will happen. Same thing applies here also. To me doc tura data thalade avi encrypt ketiya nadi tella oda private ki turajal mutumur hai cloud providers al mir hana on top of it HSM sangidi avi when secured lock pura dayas nadi tella data to me kertam musuna dandi override kenna there are so many rules. Without that cloud provider hal timli satam suna tumi encrypt ketiya na adu mi WhatsApp manariye gai ada mi India am sadenga kalai juduna vi the banking transaction or complicated transaction kertol normal call mata nan WhatsApp call ga tera na encrypt hoirai manariye gai tela mari tela keys avi encryption so encrypt ketiya na cloud provider hal satam suna so you can be very much assured nobody can see it. For example, me avi AWS employee ada tumi morjalavi mora account mavi morjalonda AWS account sete ella customer sete ella monthly tu more data sangadam same sunadi even support kerare daga hal timli sadam suna they are not supposed to see it, they will not have means to see it tengadal avi satam musuna gaamna suna database aski avi encrypt hoira as long as tumi encrypt keri thuriya suna koni dan sadam suna tumi encrypt kenada papra packet thuriya suna kon manadi savai meaning people who have access to it, right? So that's why bank locker kono di biat se on top of it if you want to taina on lock taina suna tavariya mari tumi avi telaga on slides that I will talk about it tumi avi secure to data ikke secure kenna manatavi it's a responsibility of you. Okay, so that is very much important. That is called security of the cloud, security in the cloud mani sada midala on slide the kadus but that will answer your query more.
So does it mean adavadu ella process and policy motum hitadu even technically it is foolproof data security?
Absolutely, technically foolproof, yes. It is not only policy process, technically foolproof, nobody can see it adu me through data we first in ikamusi ada me donga demo da kadal hayata. For example, storage under high S3 storage mo tela tumi data encrypt ketiya nadi without your own private key nobody else can see it tela data vi satam musuna aski data vi tumi encrypt kelluai encryption at rest encryption at transit aski kelluai ketiya nadi konki halti data avi in transit also avi interfere kari satam musuna. Okay, so technically that's why there are lot of certifications other to me. For example, AWS, GCP, Azure, kolla major cloud provider, even Oracle, IBM, Helias, namely for them to start a cloud provision, cloud service provider, for them to be a CSP in US, there are so many stringent regulations that they have to clear. FedRAMP tella regulations regulations pura certify keradi motumus tengaldi kerdam say I don't know lama mi keduna avi I team kaam kar rahe no SOC complaints mein hai SOX complaints SOC 1 SOC 2 many pura tura data center pura avi audit karante le madri CSPs avi more and more even stringent pala madangu stringent ana regulations pura kettis tanga henaikam the area. That's why banking institutions milli avi cloud data hold idaga karanam kayam nasmasna illas US or any countries, even in India many of the banks adu tumi through mobile banking, most of the mobile banking applications are running on cloud. Okay, AWS key, Azure key, it can be anything. Okay, I cannot name the customer, but most of your applications are running on cloud except core banking in India, because RBI heavy core banking heavy angun data center or because of various other restrictions. Tellamli over release masna jade cloud godai mattabadi except FSI industry, most of the other industries yes their enterprise data heavy cloud umud hamilesede. For example, the day-to-day applications to me, Swiggy, Ola, whatnot, kai has only the cloud umud hamilesede.
So Magesh, additional more question. Atal locker example muso more thore more things avi more locker mutum raria. Tusa locker avi kalana, right? Yeah. Ato me more locker me misuse करते मैं और bomb भीतर थोड़ी है मैं it will destroy entire locker system. मैं AWS मो और cloud मो कौन तला protect करे boundary कौन line set करना.
Okay, very good. So noisy neighbor many on concepts है अलावा भी अलावा में on तुंगा it's going to be a shared tenancy ले मादरीस तलाम अभी basic guardrails राई इक्केसूस consume करता मुझे even consume करता मुसुनामनी so the कई दी on DDoS attack वेला मादरी attack पूरा करता मुझे already basic guardrails राई Telangana security of the cloud. So already AWS kai kar raha hai, be it all the service providers tella abhi basic and kar rahan. Want customer order account abhi angunda customer order account abhi impact kenna talavu clear gun boundary lines define kari guardrails set kar rahan. So that for example, right, I'm just taking a hypothetical example. For example, one application maybe a frequently used application during trading hours, Zerodha, right? Zerodha we kolladi on a cloud on a cloud le angunda application very very least used application during the peak trade, right? But the application the other application maybe application X, right? Zerodha we use time application X we दिडीर के users when I was mentioning tell server kai use करता हूँ सही cut time use wise just because Zerodha is being because tell boundary conditions clear can define कर रहा guardrails clear can define कर रहा एल server order resources तने खल्लता हूँ सुना blast radius ले मारी एल particular यावी use करता हूँ सुना मैंने मारी so tell problem आऊँ ना but a good question.
Mahesh, the video freeze again. I think so. Okay,
oh.
Now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll move on. Analogies there so that the concept is very clear. Okay, because me typically kai sessions have more and more analogies. Okay, now let's try to compare on-prem versus cloud, right? So first on-prem kaga cloud manata need aware small companies, small enterprises, startup. Tella mindum tholias rewind back to 20 years, right? 20 ವರ್ಷ ಮುಂದಡಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಸವಾಗ IRCTC ಇಕ್ಕದನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಕರ್ರಾನ್ ಇಕ್ಕವಾಳ ಮಿಸಿರಾನ್ IRCTC ಸರ್ವರ್ ಡೌನ್ ಹೊರಿಯ ಮನಿ ಅತ್ತದೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಚುಕ್ಕ ಅವರಿಯೇನಿ ರೈಟ್ ತೆಲ ಕಾಮನಸ್ ನದಿ ತೆಲ ತುರ ಹಾಲ್ತಿ ಇಕ್ಕ ಪಜೆಗಿ ತೆಲಗೆ ಏತಮಾರಿ ತುರ ಲೋಡ್ ಇಕ್ಕ ವರಸ್ಕಿ ತೆಲಗೆ ಏತಮಾರಿ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಹೋಯಿ ರೈಟ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವಿ ಅದ ಒಂಡ ಮೊಟ್ಟ ನೋ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಹರ್ಮಂಗೆ ಎನ್ನ ಮನಸ್ ಆಮಿ ಗಾಯಿಗರನೋ तेलग IT operations मो सर्वर इक्के पजे capacity planning करी इक्के server पजे इक्के database पजे लगा license खन्ना इल्ला खन्ना अस्की खड़ी मुंदड़ी cloud आवता मुंदड़ी काय होती है असुन तेल्ला उन्हें 3 months 4 months activity इल्ला पूरा खड़ी setup केरा हुल्ला आदुस मोर application तलाम load केरी मोर application आप केर तम से right अदेले cloud में जानी पूरा नहीं उन्हें button उन्हें request raise करे समय automatic हैं तुम server आवाज़ जा रही है तेला server में तुम्हें application दावन जा रही है आप होन जा रही है so there is no capital expenditure so तुम financial terms जैसे में capital expenditure operational expenditure में नहीं होता है अदेले का नाम नसना again go back to that analogy right अतः उन्हें EB substation set करी power generate के नाम नसना दी तेलगा crores and crores पजे तेले सी आमी consume मोटू मु कर रही है तेलगा भी अंगा monthly काय बिल की तेला मोटू मु आमी pay करने जा रही है we are not paying the upfront investment. So tella first hit na ikam tumi hedis odariya tele mari tumi avi tella labor force to maintain the data center facility none of that is needed elaski tumko avi cloud service provider dilai right ikka bisa set kana musaygi tumi So server requirement clear gan se ikka server paja me tumi first sangi diya amna automatic and cloud provision karwa te holadi tumi scale karna for example tora peak demand ge tamari scale hona aski business um sias me idala scaling mana tonda need hai idala avi automatic and tumi cloud mavi tumi define girwai using customizations configurations aski thobi illa on prem ge enna mana sonadi more peak period avan jariya ba diwali avan jariya tala business ge tamari adagona extra men kana contract labor tholariya madri extra kan mo server bajaba extra kan capacity bajaba amni pura plan karna tala galam adadala pura devani cloud avi automatic and tumi tala ge tamari avi capacity more cpu usage ge tamari mi kelluai tele madri avi tura business avi on a particular location avi on a particular country avi tiger hanamidevani it can be global so global madam us on a server hono us on application launch karna masna immediate kan karwai tele latency we are the india am setanga sari egino us am seta sari tanga onte hai adele data center india am seta data center avi us am setana sana masna maybe tanga latency ven rai tumi data center mulam cs masna ಇಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ ಮತ್ತೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾರಿ ಹಣ ಕಾಮರ್ಸ್ ತೆಲಗ ಅವಿ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಡೇಟಾ ನೆಟ್ವರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ ಫ್ರಂಟ್ ಮಿನಿಮಾ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಸೊ ತೆಡ್ ಅವಿ ಒಂದ ಪಾಪ್ ಮಿರ್ ಹೈ ಎಡ್ಜ್ ಲೊಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಮಿರ್ ಹೈ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಎಡ್ಜ್ ಲೊಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅವಿ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಅವಿ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಕೇರಿ ತುಂಬ ದೇ ಸೊ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್ ಮನ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅವಿ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಅವಿ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ irrelevant with cloud. Let's move on to the next slide. A slightly related slide. So again, we will talk about some of the analysis, right? So adela sias mundu holaga adami khala diriga bootstrapping of tech startups became very easier. Adela 25 varsham mundadi or 20 varsham mundadi before cloud came into picture, right? Illa Pinterest, Canva, Airbnb, Netflix 2008 7 mundadi Netflix edanu pura sias masnadi Netflix was more of a CD rental service. Ikadanu US mudras mi kalani CD rental gan khadas mi te holada danu streaming gan mache CD rental service only streaming and complete gan mache. So the advent of internet alone didn't play a part. Internet muttu mudras mein ella chal raha hai, still internet avi data center में ही काम कर रहा है, but cloud में नहीं सहता हालती तुरा हालती इक्का पजेगी स्केल करता हूँ सर ये इक्का रिक्वायरमेंट पजेगी ऑटोमेटिक तुरा हालती इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोविजन करता हूँ सर ये ಅದೊಂದು ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ಸ್ ಕಳೆಂಗ ಅದ ಜೆಪ್ಟೋ ಅವಿ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 4 years ಒಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಅವಿ ಓವರ್ ನೈಟ್ ತನ ಅವಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಕೆರಿ ಒಂದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಧರತ ಮುಸರಸಿ ಮನಸ್ನದಿ ಹಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಲೇಟೆನ್ಸಿ ಅಸ್ಕಿ ಮುಸರಸಿ ಮನಸ್ನದಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ ಹಾಲ್ತೀಸ್ right. Without that, for example, you cannot even think of the Zerodagi no ICICI sias masnadi ICICI haldi avi ICICI direct hobi tumi avi trading karate gi no Zeroda karas masnadi. If you see now, Zerodha provides a very hassle-free, seamless platform than ICICI direct. Think commission sias very low, and in fact Zerodha is zero, right? So think haldi karta musada karnamu savi think cloud infrastructure haldi well optimized cloud infrastructure. That is very important. Me cloud und khailtri amna haldi dala always optimized ya amna sani na adela gona amna me ghumavi current setup getti me aski about fan men can thana demli dhamaler yes masna you will have a higher bill. You will need to know when to turn it off, when to switch it on. Men can chuka avara asna deep pocket fan dena 4 pocket fan dena masna automatically you have to do that. Konni men can he dala room masna fan off karna tala madri, right? So
my guess the awareness avi customer dal rana, right? Yeah, for example tumi sange mari ona product edi cloud teite me cloud seta facility kai tella mi incorporate keridi mo bill undavai. For example the bank in personal loan katti ami bandhana tere bank konni menna but on a certain duration adtu interest tai motta amount mari cloud mili mavai. Suppose me use kerna tere un that means configuration wrongly nasa configuration tap kai wrong and kereri automatically bill dhamle rai end of the month nasa long back avi on the mutta bill adi dekadai, right? Yeah, so tella kai avoid karte musayya.
Very good question. Like now bill shocker. Okay, so at least from AWS perspective, right? Since me avi AWS काम कर रही है मी सांगवा ले definitely दूसरा कंपनी मिली से है at least major companies, right? तुम्ही एक खल्ले example जिसको correct आना example, right? Banking example, for example, rate of interest when horas when होतल उड़ने when कहते हैं उन्ना होतल उड़ने के नान because customers जब अभी तेरे phone गेरी सांगुना तुम्ही अभी उन rate conversion के लिए इसमें तुंगा rate of interest उन्ना बड़े बाल हमनी पर सांगुना but AWS and at least other major players, right? To be fair to them, they don't do that. And again, I will give additional data points, right? Since I am close to this system, I can give this, right? To me free tier rahata varikemo, to me student account varikem bhari varikemo, things are different, right? Because you are unmaintained. Otherwise, to me on the company can avi once you are registered, you will to me automatically AWS follow up nettu maudan. Okay, once your bill goes beyond a particular amount, okay, I cannot tell that amount. The amount dandi audia manasmadi telaga eta mari there are teams, for example me on the isla customers pura manage garariya tele mari there are teams which will manage customers tenu kai garan manasmadi again AWS avi customer obsession mani sangan tele mari other companies mili se tarah hai. So kai hoy manasmadi there are inbuilt tools. AWS console there is something called as cost anomaly detection. So a cost heavy, there is an anomaly unproportionately unprecedentedly the bill shoot for us on a particular service move because of your wrong configuration. It will detect that there are certain services we trusted advisor me on the services that service kai sangam tumi tappu and configure garasi tumi correct kero ai ni sangai yedandi human intervention mli chai kona manasna tunkamani on the team farm way. Suppose तुम्ही $1,000 स्पेंड कर रहा है, तुम्ही $2,000 स्पेंड कर रहा है, उन्होंने $10,000 स्पेंड कर रहा है मसमदी तेलगा मनी उन्होंने टीम हाई तेल टीम काय करे मसमदी सीधे तुम्ही तपोन कॉन्फ़िगर कर रहा है मैंने सांगी थी तुमको एडवाइस करें बट देयर आर टूल्स अवेलेबल द टूल अभी ऑटोमेटिकली तुमको अभी अलर्ट करे तेल फर्स्ट अद डेमो जाना है कि फर्स्ट हमें तेल सांजारिया you have ways to create alerts. First thing kai karna manasnadi ami AWS account use kartam gari ami abhi we should start creating alerts and alarms on a particular threshold dandi JDA ya mo notify kar bam sangesna system will automatically notify you te hola tumi ji sias manasnadi system recommendation de tumi abhi ella mam abhi charges when se revalidated many sangai te hola tunga doubts hai manasnadi you can reach out to people or you can refer to there are so many documents available kona abhi cost optimal gan abhi on the architecture define karta hai manata abhi there are so many blocks, so many reference architectures. On the new customer hours, for example, on the banking customer hours, me have on the database build for mobile banking. You can first thing you to do is to me you should not reinvent the wheel. Me have on the Nova and Kerusbam ni there are reference architectures available. First and I come to me AWS AWS G blocks check reference architecture high. The reference architecture mavi yella madri keradis tungavi very optimal structure architecture में है इके define करो ऐसा नहीं define करो में ते होला तुम्हें अभी what you have to do is थोड़ा requirement बढ़ती ते होला you can fine tune customize. Similar thing is there for other clouds also. So one thing is very important is anonymly active but there are ways and means in the tools in the system to do a check and balance.
Mahesh, one more question. Sorry, basic question. Let's imagine I have some idea. I want to build a POC. Maybe as a student or a beginner, somebody wants to build some POC. I don't have any idea. Where is the starting point? Cost and other things is coming later. The infrastructure optimize. When I build it, I'm not going to have any user first of all. Right. Correct. So in that case, where do I start? I don't want to really get into the cost optimization, but technically, how do I start looking into it?
Okay, so first and I come free account create karna, right? AWS all cloud providers provide free account, right? They want you to try out, right? Evaluate karna. So AWS accounts, yes, I don't know what's the latest limit. Me last sathol tungavi on a particular limit, $1,000 or whatever. Latest year kayam nikalani. So you can check that. Free account whatever you are talking about, Vishnu, POC karariya, aski avi talam cover huye. So to me the POC keratagavi ike EC2 instance paja ike S3 storage paja ike database paja manasna telage eta madri avi small size instances small size database define getiya manasna you will stay within the limit te hola tela POC avi workout hoyi okay it's time to roll out a product manasna you can register as a probably a startup telaga again avi all the clouds provide a separate incentivization program for startups. Telegamani dani credits then. Okay, so there are ways and means to work it out. If you Google it, you will find out. Okay, but to start with, Khobimutra POC keratawal kai girwai manasna free accountum start kari free accountum right sizes of services use karna. Henna igam avi seta motta services use motta size services. For example, instance use keratawal avi EC2 instance use करता हूँ अभी 1 vCPU रहना 2 vCPU मसला it will not cost you much. तेरे से अभी 16 vCPU use करा समझना दी monthly cost to service यार समझना $30-40 हो रही. ಸೊ ತೆಲಗೆ ಏತ ಮಾರಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಕೆಲ್ಲಿ there's something called as pricing calculator also. The pricing calculator sias masmedi dunga kai price mani kalai US east mani oda region se masna dalla US east region use kara masna illa kai price mani kalai India ma bhi Mumbai region use kara masna illa price kai mani everything is publicly available, all transparent, no hidden charges sias masna dunga kalai. And again it's for all cloud service providers talam sias ma kalai. So plan your POC spend within that budget. Tala budget tumi getiya masna you will be fine. ते दांडी आम्ही तुम्ही अभी स्टार्टअप गन एक्सप्लोर करन जा रही है, फर्दर परसीव करन जा रही है. Once you register yourself as startup, all cloud providers have some sort of incentivization programs. Okay, so that will take care of your initial needs. Right. Okay, great. I think very interesting conversations. So quickly,
Mahesh, before going, Mahesh, region wise cost different in as ASCII region cost is same.
Okay, good question. Yes and no. Region wise cost difference there. Okay, minimal. There is some amount of parity in sila services maybe sias masna across the board unte cost high. There will be plus or minus 5%, even plus or minus 20% high. To give an example, Graviton on a particular type of instance, the sias masna India maybe 40% cheaper than US. Common India maybe the type of instance we promote career. So we cheap. Sila we sias masna US East many on US East one many on regions are there. Setamu the lowest prices for almost all services will be available there, but you can do a apple to apple compare pricing calculator mani onda sadami link padamashma chatum share garusi. AWS pricing calculator mean high, or there are even third party services to me sias masna ella region garta easy ella region karta easy cheap mni silwai silly gerwai, as long as you don't have a regulation or data residency constraint. For example, data residency constraint na gaya masnadi, for example if you are operating in India mo to data hana mini mentia masnadi to me maybe Mumbai or Hyderabad region mo tumur hadam say if you take AWS tele Azure masna there are different reasons, right? Tele sabi for example there are certain businesses they don't have a data residency constraint. For example, ada mi retail kaam kara raha si Zepto mari samna Zepto can have their region anywhere. There is no mandate as of now. Ada tele sabi ata unde bank avi through mobile banking app avi thonna tele vi AWS host karna or Azure host karna GCP host karna. There are regulations that mandate that you have to have your data within India only. So tevela vi India region modu most mi sar kadam sai dala him na you can go have it in any region. You compare which is the lowest region. The lowest region maybe to me through services pro use kello.
So tisani more lowest region me install kiti, but me India zone rahatuluko the delay hoyi na sir more region rahatuluko delay corner high. So me cost wise cheap and thuti, but more delay performance we impact very more wrong na. So tele difference rahiya.
So there is something called as content delivery रखा तो तुमको अभी इसको videos video हमारी services तुम्हें stream कर रही है हमारी service use कर रहा सी और इसको CPU consuming services use कर रहा सी तेल हालते अभी distant ज़्यादा latency वैन हो रहा सी मसला दी. There is something called as edge service. Edge service कायम मसला दी data अभी तुमको USM से through primary data we use some same as example to me edge service tholi local lota set on the data center my on the region my on the availability zone replicate hoy. Okay, so you may have to pay little bit of cost for that edge services again based on use case purti ella use case ella benefit hora same savai. But I will tell you one tips and tricks, right? I mean use a majority of day in day out applications which are there in our cloud providers. Not many of them are in India. Telavi India glotas are the reasons. For example, APAC said Singapore, Yelladu, Teladpuri, bro, Hamara. Okay, cost avi una se so to me the lay mari use case if it is permitting you, you can do that as long as there is no regulatory constraint and tunga cost cheaper can work out hora sim rasna carry savai. Through architecture again, it's based on the architecture and use case. Okay, so we'll move on. Okay. So
Mahesh, this is Samabnath. One question ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ గా आता ಏನು ಹೊಸ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಆಮಿ ಹೆವಿ ಈ ಆಮಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ತುಮಿ ಸಂಗ್ಯಾಸ 40% ಡಿಸ್ಕೌಂಟ್ ಆಮಿ ಫಾರ್
ಅದರ ಒಂಟ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್
ಹಾಯ್ ಅಂತಿಯ ಪಂಪೊಂಜರ್ಸಿ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಬಲ್ ತಿಲ್ಲ ಮಾರಿ ತುಮಿ the east region US east gavi most discounted mani sangyasi but ami India am lady ji service ami chi region among servers provision keri use karasaranu angati discount avaiga ni mesi anga building address or our company needs to be there tillakona themakondi ideas
Very good question. So again, India set the companies avi US set the region use kelwai kolla region upon use kelwai through a bill avi again is so to me pricing calculator ji sias mas mari AWS pricing calculator me under high complete can ASCII price, all prices are in USDs only across the world. Okay, maybe China or sila countries, specific countries local currency high, but majority of the countries maybe USD more high. So India account tholi to me US account maybe US region use kelly you can still pay the bill. That's fine. It works. You can leverage. Kona bana use kelwai kolla region bana use kelwai as long as through architecture and tunga regulations avi allow errors na use kelwai you will be charged for US region kai cost segi tala US region tala service use karra asna US region kai cost segi tala cost tunga dawan te wala tala vi INR kan convert hui tunga tala cost avai. Okay, so on the service avi tumi first setup kertam dadi through architecture avi best practices architecture si reference architecture si silo te wala avi do a price comparison based on the regulatory complaints. Tunga regulatory complaints konni nahi mandates konni nahi mana any region is okay mana compare and contrast ella region udhaisanu ikabarasi plus or minus 5% maybe max avaichukku avuna except sila services purti. Okay, so compare girsi the kolla workout horoski you can do that, but any country can use any other countries except there are certain countries which are completely taken off. For example, China China से region अभी China में क्या मोटुम use करता हूँ सही दूसरा countries use करता हूँ सुना दले पर China में क्या दूसरा countries का होता हूँ सुना दला हमारी पूरा सिला regulations है based on worldwide business regulations दला हमारी सिला countries है दला countries से मोटुम अभी दूसरा कोटी धाम जाता हूँ सुना.
Mahesh, one quick question. Atani more front end application avi want regionum tholi to more database backend avi aunde regionum thora tavi latency problem kai avaya or they all have to be on in the same region.
Okay, good question. So if they are in the same region, latency problem dhana. If they are in different region, of course data latency high te wala avi different regions the automatic and avi data has to travel so long, right? They have the latency high. So if you are having an application that is closely knit to front end application back end data avi it is recommended that you are in the same region, same availability zone. Same region is mandatory, availability is not. But again, through architecture, if it is supporting you, it is okay. For example, दूसरे region the latency allow you can do that. See, there are certain customers, there are certain global applications, global applications India se the customer gavi still avi US se the data we use kaluna but the latency get optimize karra it is okay. But recommended architecture is same region use karta chokot your front end application and data application. Okay, recommended only, mandatory na recommended only. But there will be a latency difference if you are using different regions within your own same application, single application.
Okay, so the regions also means to select, telai tanave select hona mai.
Right. So to me, service provision you can define. You can do it through console, front end gerwai. You can do it through APIs, SDKs, askidamam gerwai. To me, by default, this is my region many define gerwai. Each service provision kertol ella region pa region mora service provision kerbam ni sangwai.
Yeah, thank you.
One request to everybody. Sorry to interrupt you. I think I mean one slide if you have questions, put it in the chat. Okay, so what we can do is at the end we'll take the questions one by one. That would be easier, I feel.
Yeah. At least we will club those things. I think last 7, but it's a very good interaction. Last 6 slides to Jiria. We'll try to cover some more slides a little bit.
Sure, no rush, Mahesh.
Just one quick question, just related to that. That way, like it's covered. So like we have different region and different AWS resources here. Like the communication between these different region, I mean, it happens through AWS WAN link here. It doesn't go through the internet. Is it right?
Correct. Exactly. Between the regions, between the AWS regions, there is a definitely a private link. Tala private link so ultra low latency link jariya. Definitely.
Thanks.
There is a backbone, network backbone. Okay. So AWS, Azure, GCP avi major service providers. There are a lot of other providers, Oracle, IBM, Alibaba, Tencent, so many things. I just didn't want to, but adami sanjari aski futures yasmadi over a period of time, AWS, Azure, GCP, Askiram almost outria. Okay, the parity has almost become okay. So I just wanted to again spend a minute to talk about how this cloud came in, right? Cloud manatavi, it's not tied to one particular company as an invention, but more or less it was like Amazon or AWS, which actually commoditized and made it as a commercially viable thing. Kai hoye Amazon avi as a retail giant, Tenkamani Yegapata infrastructure requirement. So they had a separate infra unit. So then over a period of time, Amazon had so many things like Prime Day. There were a lot of US the golden quarter, right? Last quarter, November, December, there's so much of mad rush to buy things, right? And retail kind of blows out in that quarter. So much of shopping happens in that quarter, right? So Tenkamani the capacity provisioning high. So over a period of time, Amazon came up with unique mechanisms on how we can provision infrastructure services. Pura avi kona avi ille problems avi aski companies high many on idea avi illa mi kava on tani services kan roll out kariya hona amne avi tela commoditize kariya AWS tela commoditize kariya te holla avi illa cloud company holla te holla then other started plugging into that market, right? So temdari varikim kona it was not called as a cloud as a separate commodity. Okay, so AWS is a market leader and others are definitely there. Azure, GCP, that major players. There are other players as well. Right? So more or less, I mean, concept services there will be an equivalent one. To me, equivalent services available. Okay. Great. We'll move on. Slide avi specific and cover question away, right? Data kai hoi, data kon satam sahi mani. So again, this is cloud agnostic. Concept avi askidanu purunjulna horiya. There's something called as shared responsibility model. Shared responsibility model. Again, go back to locker example, right? We will talk with an analogy. The analogy is tumi locker mami tumi somud horasi, tumi onda patram horas, document horasi tumi tala keep hodrangan holna, right? Tele pitar kai satam natavi bank kalana. Tele madi tele bank code responsibility adond racy matrix create karas bank code responsibility kayam tele locker security detas. For example, a locker gavi mi avi ikka strong gana bhit idu ikka ondana drill datam sana ege gatam sana tele mai tele gavi onda manned guard ko bimur hai tele mari allaga week moda locker hai ikka moda put aite horavo tele mari ondana jana dena avi authorized gan hana so and so tele ki right? Same thing applies here also. And then the locker seta tura jaman safe kan dhana the responsibility is there with you also. Tumi avi keep hodrangan thodana ada tunga tailgate avi locker number 92 the locker number tholde daga now Magesh okay illa locker number khalla badi konadi mi choti amna after 1 month or 2 months avi me Magesh min sangeet avi locker bi khali avi there are still checks and balance through photo high again high atta telapura kertam suna CCTV camera mundadi des kertam sai tele mari melis hoga. So there is something, this is something called as security of the cloud, security of the locker, and security in the locker, security in the cloud, right? So security in the cloud mana kayamna cloud tumi kai thulriya mana responsible to me tella tumi kona vi manage ganna mana own responsibility is your own data, you are responsible. Ade sila public release PR pura high sometimes kaya news ma hey data sottiya hey Azure leak etiya AWS leak etiya GCP leak etiya that is not their fault. They might have configured at data set bucket avi then tappu and configure karan public accessible mani kalnata. So the public accessible mani configure karam you cannot do anything. That means तुम्ही अभी volunteer gan अभी okay मी data अभी public and थोड़ा ready कौन कजर the link है इसमें मैं access करवाई. So the data कौन protect करना मतलब तुरा हादम से right? All the CSPs provide you ways and means. Private kano first and I high by default. You can override and say I want to make it public public can ask open hoy. I want to encrypt encrypt hoy. So all the features are provided to you at your disposal. Tala ami kona effective gan use kala rasi ikka madri avi effective gan use kelli secure gan thoda rasi mata aura pur full cloud secure gan thoda te Tegaporu, meaning be it AWS or Azure or GCP or Oracle, right? The question was there, right, earlier. Aunda customer use karariya haldi moraya data impact hoya hona, right? That is where the blast radius, usage radius, boundary conditions, guardrails, aski define hui rai. Okay, so the cloud provider mani orange box munda karrega itala full ga navi CSP order responsibility, right? On the data center region available at the end of the day, the data center is being managed by the CSPs, right? The full end-to-end the manage gari tunga tevayana servers provide karta, storage provide karta, database provide karta, aski danka kam. But tellaga pura correct ga encrypt kari access define kari, role based access or attribute based access or user ID based access, policy based access thovi adavadu avara key madri use kari face recognition thollega locker antella mari karta avara customer oda responsibilities. But the cloud service providers provides ways and means. So this is how the checks and balances are maintained. So the responsibility is shared between the cloud service provider and the customer. You cannot wash off your hands saying that, hey, every data leak. This kind of bad press comes every now and then, but then underlying problem is customer avi configure kannata hudran correct gun or usage use kannata hudran, considering some cost optimization, cost cutting okay. So you need to know what is bare minimum for you to secure your data and accordingly use that. Secure then ultimately you will be at risk to lose your data. Okay, so it is very important. But bare minimum automatically system enforce karai. Override system will ask you for explicit confirmation. Okay, I'll show you one of the screens. S3 data public to me to consent there specific and pusai. Okay. So anyway, so this is a very important concept. Yeah, we'll move on to the next slide. We will take a logical pause and I will take questions. So cloud minimum again, and eighth standard daughter it has become a basic lesson in fundamentals. I wanted to cover this also. There are different levels of cloud service, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right? So leftmost say they have data center on site, right? On prem aski manage over here. For example, network manage server manage storage manage aski tumi aski avi it's your own responsibility, right? Infrastructure as a service, for example, the underlying network, question network backbone kon define AWS manages that. Storage kon provide server kon provider AWS or GCP or Azure provides, CSP provides that, right? Virtualization, meaning creating your own shared tenancy to make it look like your own hardware matavi virtualization. Tellavi CSP. ते उंचे तुंगा OS काय पजाया मैं तो तुम्ही customize केलवाई काय middleware पजाया मैं तो customize केलवाई you have to manage that, right? So that is called infrastructure as a service. अरे लमा मोटा level जी मोबाइल पर नोका बासिले तू manage गया बा मैंने दी दिला platform as a service तो ला भी तुंगा platform दी दिगो तला platform हम application की data मतुमो धमड़ता अभी more responsibility, right? For example, IaaS अभी all CSPs provide that, right? So the platform as a service ना, for example, AWS में भी Elastic Beanstalk में होता service है, तो service में भी तुम्हें easy का application build करवाए, web applications build करवाए, right? So all that you have to do is you don't have to define a server. तो लमाम already अभी predefined का ठाई तुमको काय sizing पजेगी तलगे तमारे अभी scale होई कौन अभी define होई है, तो लाद अभी तुरा काम अभी you come in, define your application, define your data, and you are done, right? So essentially to me what you want to manage, what you want to offload services tier machari, right? So that is platform as a service. The last is software as a service, right? The complete software on a service. For example, Office 365, right? The Microsoft Office local install the concept to right? Now you have everything in cloud, all your documents get stored in cloud. That is called Office 365. All that you are doing is you are coming and working in that application. To me, application you are not defining that application any further, right? You are not developing that application, enhancing that application. So you are just consuming that application. The application consume carry me more one work software as a service, right? other example is Google Workspace, Telemari, AWS, Amazon Workspace. So LS 3 different levels, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, right? What you manage, what you offload to the CSPs, right? So accordingly, Tura responsibilities also increases or decreases. That is screen shared responsibility CA. So shared responsibility LV CS IaaS or responsibility. Ye holad PaaS CS angun sile when we CSP khallai. SaaS CSP angun when khallai, or application owner whoever has built that application khallai. Tura responsibilities jukku owner hai, right? So this is what it is, right? So with this, we are done with the cloud fundamentals. I'll take a pass. Kaidi question Semna Sango. Otherwise, we'll move to the AWS.
I'll read out from the chat, Mahesh. First one, when Deepa has asked, when planning the infra for a product for global audience, what is the ideal way to choose the regions and services? Are all services available in all regions? Additional cost of
Okay, very good question. So again, region to region parity say yes and no. Majority of the key services almost available in all regions. Again, I am talking about AWS. I can talk only for AWS, but me this again, same complications and same challenges are there for other CSPs also. Microsoft Kalaskai, Azure Kalaskai. For example, our service introduced I know where my market is. Right? Tela market me first to roll out because tela service me build deploy region deploy the CSP invest a lot. CSPs also has a business behind it, right? Think we supply demand said that. So on the new service there are certain marquee regions. Tela marquee regions kattayam high. Once that marquee region people have try okay, then it becomes a global reach, right? Trend horrors I mean sorry guy one day shame we use some trend hora India trend hora almost telamari huiri mana tol tela service avi India only consume gerarasi mana tharmo yamna tela service automatically in India only avata hamagate, right? Maybe it's a matter of a month or weeks or depends, right? Ikka avi adoption se demand se mana burti. For example sila service avi Mumbai Maudai Hyderabad motha late hoy, right? From the perspective of AWS, right? AWS has two regions in India. One is Mumbai, one is in Hyderabad. Mumbai first ovai, Hyderabad next ovai. The same service implement cannot deploy it involves a lot of cost. So it's all a matter of supply demand. But you can again ASCII data be transparently available for all CSPs. You can check tunga service pajamna kolla region currently available me savai telaga cost kayamni savai, and you can have your architecture planned accordingly, deployed accordingly. Okay, everything is transparently available.
Thanks, Mahesh. One more question from YouTube Live. What is the role of APIs in cloud computing?
Okay, very good. So adami kai malari anna mi console sidi aske console UI motumu sa mi keranjaria. For example adami on EC2 instance provision kerarasi manas masnadi mi EC2 instance provision kerarasi masnadi mi console mg adami demo satal san console mg sa mi EC2 instance avi each and each UI screen mg ami want define keri enter keri on the instance invoke kerwai telle API imli kerwai. There are SDKs available. AWS SDKs Azure SDKs. So programmatically, for example, to me the application holders, the application maybe on the fly the application has to create a storage, has to create another instance. API moves invoke here. So there are ways and means to invoke an API which will in turn provision services or services access carry. For example, the data budget. Very simple, right? Again, this is becoming more conversational. I think it's well time spent. So for example, ada tumi aski applications here, majority of the applications, right? Ada tumi oda website login karras masnadi mudari pura kai hoy masnadi. For example, I am a frequent user of Hindu newspaper, right? Ada mi Hindu janamana masnadi mudari pura avi miji Hindu ji oda login ID create karna, right? Adala Hindu ji login ID create karras masnadi adda avi Times of India jaras masnadi telaga ji oda login ID create karna. Now you would have seen, do you want to use some of the common available identity providers, right? Google have on a common identity provider, Facebook on identity provider, Amazon on identity provider, right? So the identity provider once Google login get Google will ask, do you want to share this data with so and so? ASCII API transmit right? So the Google tunga authenticate get Magesh Babu Manimanayakam to the Hindu Times of India news to me Sara Simana Tolo. A limit to hold Hindu 10 free articles many hold. So data will get tracked using your own ID, and this identity is getting passed between Hindu newspapers through Google's identity provider to Hindu paper, right? So tega own database maybe okay Magesh Babu tega own Gmail ID thovi tella identity mavatana ella madam 10 article use ketriya bamni. So they didn't build okay Magesh Babu manata login they didn't create. They consumed the identity service provided by Google, right? There are ways and means to plug in that service. AWS tele service ata Azure tele service ata the identity avi I mean consume. So all this data gets transmitted through APIs, right? Anyways, good.
Okay, thanks, Mahesh. So more understanding from the answer is depending on, let's say I'm using IAS key here, platform as service use karasti, the role of API usage would differ. For example, IAS can say virtualization data rest all is mine. I don't need to really go to the platform GUI or the AWS infra GUI, right?
Correct. So okay, so API we don't restrict it to within the environment, within the ecosystem, within the CSP environment, right? API manada meeku example that karanamu for example, you have APIs that go beyond your applications, right? There are APIs defined by certain common service providers who can use it. So even SaaS really you can use that APIs. For example, to me application use कर रही है Office 365 तला कम्प्लीट तुम्हें इधर हमारी use होगा तला APIs अभी for example तुम्हें कहीं दियोंडे integrate करा रहा है you can, right? The APIs within the CSPs the amount gets limited when you move from IaaS to SaaS, but then outside API service providers, common service providers, for example, maybe UPI transaction invoke UPI transaction through a SaaS invoke again there's an API transaction, right? So that still is possible through SaaS, but within AWS ecosystem maybe service provide करता कुछ तू invoke करने आमना इसमें तेरे नहीं तला IaaS तुम्ही करना PaaS तुम्ही करना maybe little bit SaaS तुम्ही करना मनी तेरे नहीं तला automatic and behind the scenes under the hood it will happen, but then outside APIs if you want to call it can be allowed in all these means IaaS PaaS SaaS.
Okay, thanks. There are two more questions. Quickly I'll read through. Sorry, third, fourth, everything is coming. I'll go in order. Kumaresh has asked, we currently use AWS and deploy in our own application through EC2. When and where AWS solution architect is needed?
Okay, so to me the company काम कर रही है the company have based on the size तुम company on account नहीं हवाई, okay, meaning account team नहीं होता है, but if you are a startup still there will be, so तुम्हें अभी तुरा support team reach out करा इसमें that team will get in touch with that account team, the account team अभी तुमको support तेरे मैंने for example मोला solution architecture review पजे help पजे मैंने that team can come and help you again तेरे तुम्ही कोल्ला मारी support तुम्ही अभी enable कर रहा सी enterprise support enable कर रहा सी business support enable कर रहा सी मैंने तो दूंगा तेरे support अब भाई, right? Otherwise तुम्ही काय कर मैंने by default there are so many blogs available. One of the important activities that ami kerariya kayam nadi customers work kertol there are best practices, best optimized architecture साथ तला पूरा blog करना भाई तला blog पूरा तुम use के लिए तुरा architecture तुम ये गलवाई. There is something called as well architected framework, well architected review money, again that is available in public domain, which you can use. Well architected framework many the Google search by AWS well architected framework. There are multiple dimensions, 6 dimensions currently. Telam cost on sustainability on performance on. So there are 6 security pillar. There are 6 pillars. It will give you best practices and proven best practices, prescriptive guidance in each of these pillars, and each of these pillar will tell you less but better architecture में है. ये दांडी तो in person involvement based on your size and account size, business size, based on the support तुम्ही काय थोड़ा सी मतलब पड़ती तुमको अभी team help करना.
Okay, next one from Kishore Lal. Okay, so I think it's a tricky question. I don't know, it looks tricky for me. Reference to your slide, it shows that the data is managed by CSP even for SaaS. In fact, configuration management or user definition will be with the customer. Yes or no, Pusiras?
Okay, illa data avi tura data na. Okay, this is the applications data. For example, Office 365 use karariya database manage karariya tura काम ना हमारी हमारी तेलेस तुम्ही तेला application उनसे tura data use karariya. For example, I create a PPT that is not you managed by that SaaS vendor. SaaS the application use karariya data. So that's why data is below the application. meaning the application internally consume karariya data sa guy tellavi tella SaaS provider order responsibility, okay, for that application to run efficiently, not the customer's end data. It is the application's database or whatever, right? Tella customer order end data avi manage kartavi customer order responsibility.
Thank you, Mahesh. So what I understood, layers mavi on top of application mu ami data thon jareta. That is something still
Correct,
responsible. Okay,
Still
responsible.
correct. Your own data. That is your own data, not application data. Like application mata Office 365 is an application. The application or data is managed by SaaS.
Right, right. Say for example, even on the example khalam nadi SSL inspection kartolo, still we have a choice to include our own certificate, I mean private certificate, right? Again, to support any SSL interception. So Teval, I mean, even if you opted for the SaaS based service, we have a choice. Either CSP there is certificate use, even we can upload our own certificate. So tell my situation kona tella aura data na. I don't know how that you would classify.
No. So certification data amnata della security layer na. So tellavi tumi kona bana tura certification data amli use kelwai. Again, based on the application and constraints that is there. Tella generic and sangata musuna. But
okay,
most of the applications if you want to bring your own certificate, CSPs do allow that. So tellavi allowed. So that is what tunkavi tella certificate tunga tella savi tura mandate same system allows that.
Okay. Right. In the broader way, this is what actually. So application khalas ki it will be managed. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Okay. One more question from Karthik Babu. Then he says learning purpose which is EC2 cloud virtual instance. Few months ago he has done it. Now, though he is being in free tier, he sees some bill. So,
okay.
Is it payable or just a heads up?
Okay, so very good question. So, see, it's important to understand this. Free tier manasna tunga tala free and derian ha. Okay, the name may be a misnomer, or in India, I mean, which used to here. See, there's always something called as fine print. The fine print shows the fine print shows here. Free tier manasna the guys the clear and tyran. Okay, free tier kai eligible, kai services eligible, talam kai instances eligible, hours in eligible mani hai. Once you breach that number of hours, kai hoy manasna. See, aski daga bill hilar hai. Okay, on a particular within your limit manasna automatically tella tunga credit hai, tella credit maybe to you don't have to pay. Okay, so for example, just to make it simple, right? On a particular type of instance provision kararas, right? Tella provision tella instance $1 minimum thologa per hour. Me more free tier limit $1,000 minimum. If I have used it for say 200 days or 300 200 days or whatever, right? 3 days, 3 months, whatever. Till a bill we suppose to dandi JDM automatically you are coming out of the free tier. You are breaching the limit, you have to pay. So first thing you need to have a sense of what you are provisioning. Tele vi limitum seya tele madri use kera hola turn off kenna tele mari tura usage avi tili alarm thavi set keri chekele rana. So that is very important. Okay, once use kering class masna so mi kolla training siyasna dimli kolla tutorial siyasna dimli last one step right clean up mani tutorial pages siyasna masna di AWS tutorial hai kai whatever other things also the last step will be clean up. So tumi ata on POC karta kuchi on a particular EC2 instance provision POC you turn it off, you shut it down. That means your billing stops. Me free tier free tier doesn't mean any number of hours you run that EC2 instance will be free. No. Okay, it's a misunderstanding. For everything you are billed, but then whether the bill becomes payable or not, that is based on the limit. So free tier a particular limit particular limit whatever is consumed is free, right? So understand it very correctly. The fine print studies the fine print studies use kervo. Okay, that is very important.
Okay Magesh, just the learning tutorial karatal me activate karaya adutha stop karayre ani athas long time after long time open kare say bill this உடனே அது ஸ்டாப் கேரி டெர்மினேட் கே தெரியாது இன்ஸ்டன்ஸ் போடும் அதுல.
வெரி குட் வெரி குட். So suppose to me the mari countuna sodium there will be a bill shocker, so you may have to end up paying, otherwise the account abhi suspend hoyi the account are to free dur halti use karta hum suna.
Okay, thanks Manish.
One question from Arun. If data managed by user, CSP provides option to replicate karta option, then yaar suriya.
You can. So the CSP, see many of the times kai hoy masmadi ada data vi tumi encrypt karano more one keys mi khali hosi, so encryption mu si CSP provide कर रही है की यूज करतेगी तू यूज करतेगी जिसमें इवन हार्डवेयर लेयर यूज करी सिक्योर करता है तो हमारी HSM स्पेसिफिक इक्विपमेंट्स तेल जनरेट करे whatever you can replicate करे तेला डाटा हालती से तगाई अगेन तेले की थोड़ी तुम्ही तेले प्राइवेट की तेले पब्लिक की कॉम्बिनेशन थोड़ी मोस्ट तुम्ही अभी फ्री डिक्रिप्ट करी यूज करता हूं सही. You can replicate in any region, any availability zone, but again use करना मतलब तेले considerations अभी पाजे तेले प्राइवेट की तेले लॉक अस्की यूज करना.
Okay, thanks Manish. So that's it from this set of questions. Another 15 minutes as per plan. Let's go ahead and see how much we are able to see cover further.
Sure. Okay, good. So okay, now adami whatever adami sanjari abhi AWS specific, but again there will be parallels. Lay parallels abhi almost aski major CSP mein hai. The name will be different. AWS EMS that B mein hai, that C mein hai, but more or less will be comparable, at least for the bare fundamental features. Services lay advanced hota sila services sila specific service providers will rise layer hana, but then fundamental foundational services pro almost there is a parity. Okay, so before we go any further, I want to talk about the regions again availability zones manata kayami or clarity ona. Okay, so I mean already we talked about it. US East 1, Mumbai, Hyderabad, but for askidanga benefit guchi, right? So regions manata kayam again a geographical area, right? A vast geographical area. Want a particular specific user group cover karte or a vast geographical area which is again delimited by certain government regulations and all of that, right? Telamari sate or a region, for example India is a region, right? Telamamu ikka regions for example AWS ikka regions holrasi regions, right? For example in India there are two regions. One avi Hyderabad one Mumbai a first region, Hyderabad avi recently launched 2 years back. So region mata kayam nasnadi Mumbai sete on a particular area mu sila data centers rai. So each of the data centers, multiple data centers make up to something called as availability zones. Okay, so for example adamora on a server same nasnadi tela server avi within a region, within an availability zone you will provision tela availability zone avi tumi Mumbai select kar Mumbai tela area code sadamani gongi galana. Okay, so there are certain defined availability zones. Mogavi 1A availability zone can be 1B for you, but then there are 3 availability zones in Mumbai, right? So what it means is there are 3 geographically separate areas within in and around Mumbai which are probably within a distance of a certain X kilometers that make up to one particular region in Mumbai. So the whole region within certain limitation. For example, in AWS on a certain kilometers, right? The kilometer radius 3 availability zones. 3 availability zones are again separated by so many kilometers, so that there is a disaster recovery backup setup. So on availability zone down horus, for example, on availability zone for example, because of a disaster or overall power outage, this, that, even each availability zone has so much of redundancy built in. For example, on availability zone, it's made up of multiple data centers, right? Tellaga avi ekapata redundancy hai. Power CS 3-4 dhamamli avarai, network 3-4 dhamamli avarai. So each availability zone itself has multiple redundancies. Te dandi avi, each region has multiple availability zones. In AWS we call bare minimum 3 availability zones for a region. So for example, at the Mumbai 3 availability zones, right? So why do we do that, right? For all, I mean, through one startup idea or through one POC maybe on a server say the server down here because of whatever reasons, right? Even for that there is a certain SLA. Beyond all reasons, suppose on the data JDA you don't have ways to recover it, right? So that's why there's something called as high availability design. Again, this is a common concept, right? Standard concept. The recommendation is you should have tunga mission critical data you should have that in multiple availability zones, and even more mission critical multiple regions. So for example, the financial companies or even for a healthcare data, say your banking accounts, multiple places, multiple backup copies, so that even if a disaster strikes, right? For example, the Chennai flood on 10 days heavy down 2015, many data centers got affected. When you invoke a DR, there should be a way for you to recover your business and run it, right? So there are multiple reasons. So multiple reasons geographically separate, seismically different. So different seismic planum high, so there is region. So in India, Mumbai and Hyderabad region, USMC, there are 6 or 7 regions. Each country's large countries, multiple regions, right? For example, Australia, Japan, multiple regions, right? Europe, multiple regions, right? But each region will have at least bare minimum of 2 or 3. In AWS, it is 3. In Azure and GCP, the number could be different. Each availability zone, multiple availability zones, make you to provide you the option of building you highly available applications. Without that, other than you want availability zone, your application is not highly available. Meaning, on a region, want a zone down because of a networking issue or whatnot, your complete application will be down. So that's why it's important multiple application availability zones. Okay, so understand this concept. So region means.
My one
Sorry,
question. This availability zone, could be available manatolo. Me pose a question that replication is not required,
right? Okay, remember this, everything fails. You should start again. See, the kind of application to me run areas matter. Okay, tunga kai level of SLA pajamata. Tunga 99% SLA pajamata, one availability zone is fine. Based on your cost, your availability requirement, one availability zone is fine. But at the more application, 99.99% available. For example, me and the banking mobile application, on a green screen, 404 error, red screen, banking application use kar raha for example Mumbai mein bhi post pade si tela haldi network outage hoye si tumi want availability zone hoda kai hoyi. No matter what, there are natural disasters that can strike, there can be whatever, right? Because of it's called force major telamar situations for why. So if you are running a college project, one availability zone is fine considering your cost parameters. Enterprise grade application you cannot risk it. You have so many users, you have to make sure that the application runs in multiple availability zone. Even beyond that, multiple reasons you have to bear that cost in mind. That's where application requirement through a use case design okay, nobody comes and forces you that you have to have it in multiple availability zones.
Yeah, so this availability zone, the availability zone region the availability zone multiple available zones under the region, right?
Correct. One region multiple availability zones, right? So the last region khala moon availability zones are there. Okay, picture moon boxes are here. So Mumbai moon availability zone, right? Hyderabad moon availability zone, right? US East 1, Virginia, North Virginia moon availability zone, right?
So each availability zone is a physically segregated data center.
Correct. And it is not one single data center. I cannot say one or two or multiple.
I mean, whatever.
It can be multiple,
one.
Right? Availability zone is also multiple data centers. Okay. It can be one or multiple, small or big based on the size. But then
true. Logically.
But then availability zone itself has enough redundancy. Okay. The question it is enough redundancy. Multiple lines high. But beyond that, everything can fail. So they have multiple availability zones are there. Even for example, so the country war is that's why you have regions.
Yeah. So on the service I mean I mean multiple region and multiple region select again and then the zone select like how it goes, like goes by zone or
okay,
region?
So everything is tied to finally one availability zone. Okay, through kolla server has me, there are certain services which are beyond availability zone. With that levi the regional resource man, most of the resources are availability zone resources levi on a particular data center tie hoyi rai. So we tunga highly available pajamna first consideration kai gira you can define it in multiple availability zones. For example, we on a Zepto application, right? For example, again, take it for example, right? They may not be running in one availability zones. They may be running it in multiple availability zones if they are running in AWS, right? I'm not saying Zepto is running in AWS, right? So it can be running in other also. Multiple availability zones from Hawaii. Okay, the to be Zepto jana aega maybe on the splash screen our servers are down, they are going to lose so much of business, right? So that's why the multiple availability zones hari amari illa fail has the availability zone automatic and the automatic and now highly available and resilient applications. So automatic and availability zone with service available. There are also load balancers. Load balancer kai yella availability zone load jara si availability zone availability zone. So you can define your applications with such architecture.
So Magesh, one question at the region availability zone area. Suppose region is fail pudema HA kona work hoyi. For example, Mumbai is
multi-region. So the banking regions banking companies there is a mandate that to on a service it should be at least running in 2 regions which are geographically so many kilometers apart, seismically so many kilometers apart. So CSP Chennai in Bangalore, they are in the same seismic zone, same geographic region closely. So that's why Chennai in Bangalore and suppose something is there in Chennai, another could be in Delhi. If something is there in Mumbai, another can be in Hyderabad or Chennai. They are different regions. So through application say resiliency requirement is very high. You have to go for multi-region availability. Again, there are multiple DR and BCP concept. There are multiple design architectures. One region multiple availability zone is probably the cost optimal structure. But if your application demands multiple regions, you don't need to run applications all the time in 2 different regions. Cost will be a big factor there. One region data replicate real time automatically the cost will be very high. Okay, so till the easily highly available real time replication maybe very large banks, large enterprises. You can have a snapshot, you can have a copy. Okay, disaster recovery well an RTO define RTO definition you can define all of this. Okay, you can RTO recovery time objective, recovery point objective. So to a recovery time objective you need to be having more redundancy built in your architecture. That means you need to have it in more availability zones, more regions, again based on what your application demands. CSP doesn't dictate anything, right? CSP region availability zone through application, through end user, through use case through a disaster recovery scenario you can define it, right? Okay, we'll move on. I want to quickly do a demo of AWS console. Okay. Check. Okay. 1 second. Let me share my screen. Windows. Okay. Okay, more screen. The guy Chrome screen. No?
Yes, Mahesh.
Okay, so let's have AWS EC2 console, AWS console. So once you have gotten into it, to me screen recently visit could actually can change according to kai services to me use karasi talage tamari machai. Let's see as usage bill away, kai setemni away, forecast kaimni away. Tehladavi kaidi issues semnas memli away, solution architecture kaidi recommendation semnas memli away. Okay, default can be money trusted advisor kaya. For example, to me heavy business support, enterprise support can semnas to trusted advisor away. Tellamamus avi security hub many windows it's available to all kind of accounts telam siyasna sama tunga security loopholes sama security hub mavi ela pura takade lam recent blog post mane ella area mavi recent blog post takade ada illa heavy reasons ada more default reason ada mi kai set ke dhori amna US East one ఏదాంటి అవి there are so many other reasons right ఎల్లడ తల్లి స్టోరీ అవి top 16 reasons there are other 16 other reasons also that are not enabled for this account kagamna mi account create kardal tell reasons pura nahi they have the enabled hoiri ani but if you want to manage more regions you can add those again there might be any cost free tier enabled hoirana ni just enabled hoi based on the so mi ada mena madri Mumbai region avi free tier so they have the Hyderabad tayartho ave healthy enabled hoiri ani so if you want to add it you can go and manage regions if there are cost restrictions you don't want to do that so the me Mumbai region machilina you can go ahead and do this you have the kai to me provision keras by default Mumbai region okay so now illa vi tura settings kaidi pajamna machiluai tura layout machina machuai widgets kaidi ada default ga widgets pura sa widgets pura monoko mo dusra mari widgets paje mo cost and usage noko dusra paje health parameters kai paje mana illa mari tumi illa widgets pura machiluai te hola de Amazon Q many of the features is like I am na tumi kaidi onda kertol tunga issue hours it's more like a chatbot automatic na vi you want me to try to figure out what is the issue you want me to help resolve this issue so telavi dunga vi recommendations pura sangai so automatic and silwai let's see as kai services set many tele group hoira for example analytic services kai set compute services kai set so compute services maybe I mean basic and foundational kan kai sanjari na me EC2 sanjari lambda sanjari le modumu sanjari in our sessions right le pura group there are so many compute services for example even beyond it app runner image builder elastic beanstalk ni juya set okay tele mari database ni siyasna ekapate set so tunga kai pajegi ni silwai so we will cover only the foundational services okay in today's session and upcoming sessions but then ellavi on kadal mari vartanada avler high but everything has right again not only for AWS to be fair to all the service providers have enough amount of documentation because they want askidanu use kenna madade again said telemari enough tutorials are available so much of transparency is available in terms of cost and pricing so tunga kai pajegi kai services pajegi they are all grouped here tunga service name kalarani manasna you can come and find out for example the DynamoDB mana kayamni mo kalarani ba manasna mi database avarasi DynamoDB ni onta senamni chesna manage NoSQL database manasna tumi henna iga DynamoDB ni dai vakas manasna automatically you will see what it is right and again Gemini automatically tunga AI overview the hola you can see what it is it will very clearly say DynamoDB page jasna kai mani sangai overview jasna tunga we get started mi sangi automatic and blogs avai documentation avai everything there are videos available YouTube videos available solutions kai solutions libraries using DynamoDB me avai so tunga avi on a particular service use kenna mani kalana you can come and see the under various groupings for example one of the questions say my budget dandi gs mi kai karate there are services available where you can come and see right the more service now kalai for example Aurora the more service kalai I can automatically go and search here the service search can I can the service now over the service me use kelwai okay more service now kalarani mana tolus menu use grouping umji the halad me on search keri the halad pati kalali the pati kelwai okay but once more service now kalarasi automatically you can always go and search right okay so now let's go back I know it's already 8 o'clock I have a hard stop by 8:15 okay so maybe we'll try to cover some more and then we'll take a logical stop okay easy to motumdi cover karenge at least we will have a good feeling that we did something
Mahesh, maybe 8:10 we stop and then
we'll wrap.
People have some questions.
Sure.
Then we can continue next week.
Right. Great. So, okay, alarm. Okay. First topic, so I think again we have to go back. So we'll do that alarm. So that is very important. The question pusamari tunga cost week kalana manata it's important. So what you have to do is again cloud watch manata service java CloudWatch mata service jias mas nadi ladu se okay ladu alarm jias mas nadi already kairi alarm se mas nadi define kar ras mas na avai okay ni mas nadi ami avi billing and alarm select kelwai billing alarm select kelli billing alarm define kelli mo avi on a particular cost when JDA mas no mo notify carry mas nadi automatic and dela tunga mail notify karai okay so we'll see that adavi on a particular metric define kari the particular metric for example more CPU usage on a particular level dandi jarasi for this particular server manasna you can do that similarly billing umli tumi avi alarm create karwai okay 1 second So tumi on a budget me define karwai so billing control jias nadi tumi on a budget define karwai ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೊರ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೊರ ಡೈಲಿ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಮನಿ ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಗೆತಿ te daandi avi selavu horasi manas madi automatic eno tunga avi notify karai tura mail id sangya masna tura mail id notify karai okay so before tumi ada a new account create keti manas madi first and foremost read the fine print tunga free tier kai eligible semni savo tela free tier eligible seta services matum use karvo tele madri first thing you have to do is come and set up an alarm Telagavi documentation is available. I don't want to spend time showing step by step. Okay, Lavi, one of the easiest things. So the documentation CDM kalai tumi avi tura mail ID dias masna tuma notify garai tumi avi use kelwai ada tala EC2 ondanu provision ketti dehladu shutdown kana da mari problem pro chalna. Okay, so ala first sangada harmangareya. So do that is very important. Then start provisioning services. Otherwise, you may end up having a bill shocker, which we don't want to do. Okay, so now we'll start off with the first service. So, there are 6 foundational services. So, I'm Sanjaria. First, we compute, Talam EC2, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. Second, we S3, simple storage service. S3 is the first service that AWS launched, okay, in 2006. So, this is the oldest service. They all are the EC2 last year. They all are the IAM, identity and access management, one of the key security service. User define करता है, group define करता है, कौन का क्या access देना बनता है, role based access, permission policies, ASCII लामु define कर दिया. They all are the Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, which is VPC. इल्लेस अभी virtual private cloud मुझे आधा अभी more data कौन दूसरों सनाता है, मतलब ना IAM plus तुरवोन virtual private cloud करता है VPC, right? We'll go into each of this in the upcoming sessions. Okay, RDS manadavi relational database services, right? Adanga galaya standard gun typical gun worker pura mostly Oracle work on SQL Server work on pura relational database services. So Amazon provides a different flavor of all of this called RDS. There are multiple engines supported, Oracle supported, SQL Server supported, MySQL supported, Postgres supported. All of these are supported. Tellamli ami detailed gan seeing last week CloudWatch again another foundational fundamental service that I CloudWatch muji alarm set explain kareya. So that is your monitoring and logging mechanism and tracing mechanism. Tura full account im kai chala riya, कौन एक्सेस कर रही है, काय एक्सेस कर रही है, इक्का सर्विस यूज हो रही है, CPU यूसेज कौन है, मेमोरी यूसेज कौन है, मैं आस्की तरह तुम्हें अलर्ट क्रिएट करवाए, अलार्म क्रिएट करवाए. You can also have notification mechanism. So this is your central operations and monitoring tool, right? So with that, we will quickly do an intro of EC2 and then we will take up the remaining in the next session, right? So the EC2, one of the foundational services, many common less virtual server in the AWS cloud, right? Equivalent is there in other things also. On demand create kelwai, it scales as you want. Again, you have to define kona avi scale kenna manata avi tumi define kenna capacity avi ikka pajamata add kelwai define kelwai tunga kai size pajamata define kelwai. There are different kind of instances available as of now. As we speak, the last time I saw the screen, around 800 plus type of instances available. On the instance type, it's a combination of multiple things, right? Examples C7GN 2x large C it's a particular instance family type series, right? C service compute optimized EC2 memory optimized ARM start general purpose start right? So typically MOC R is high. They are smallest instances type. I mean, so a free tier eligible team T2, T3 free tier eligible gan high. Tella mini, micro mini high. So size large, X large, 2x large, 4x large, 8x large mani jile jaye. 16x the size the capacity increases, the compute capacity, the size of the instance increases, your workload demands such a capacity as well. Define right? Similarly, the C7 generation. So what each CSP does is they keep on reinventing and innovating. So at the latest C6, C7, maybe it's very near, and we will get a C8 also. So to me, C5 C7 might be offering better price performance. Lesser prices can rata chances at the better performance is a chance there, but better performance is always guaranteed. Price, certain instances, price could be getting lower because of the inventions. Prices might be on par also, might increase slightly also. Again, pricing calculator we check lower. G manatavi graviton. I manatavi C7 I manasna Intel mini high, C7D manasna the AMD high. So it defines the instance family. So C7G, C7, M7, 8, 11 around the instance family. Size heavy, large, 2x large, 3x large, 4x large, 3x 2x to 4x high, 8x, 16x high. So based on the type of workload that you are going to run, based on the requirement, you will define kai paje and define glow. Te holadu tunga teve ana madri mora CPU usage van horasia. I will keep on adding additional servers with this size many to me define gilwai. So that's how you scale. Right? Spike tunga abhi workload spike when hota automatic and me scale ke liye java मतलब define करता हूँ उसे, right? Typically this is how on the EC2 instance is placed in the overall scheme of things. We talked about region kaya, availability zone kaya, VPC kaya, very high level bata kare. So region bhitar on availability zones है, on availability zone bhitar there is something called as net subnet. Subnet means a defined IP range which is known only to you. If it's a public subnet, it's accessible publicly. Private subnet within the network access kartam say. So you can define a EC2 in a public network or a private network. So EC2 is always there. Any of the services typically are there within some of these secure subnets only. They all are the Sangari on the EBS volume connect right? So with this we will take a pass. We will recap this next week when we start and then continue from there, right? Any questions? Last 5 minutes, we will take any of the questions that we have.
There is one question from Karan in chat. The version of systems and applications like operating system database to begin with, it is provided by AWS. Customer brings it up, but at some point there will be upgrade required, either suggested by customer or due to some security issues. How is it handled in the later case?
Okay, very good question. So again, think of the IAS PAS roles and responsibility scenarios. Okay. So IAS operating system ownership responsibility is ours, right? When you provision EC2 instance, the EC2 instance OS you would have defined along with the versions, right? When there is a version upgrade needed, you will have to patch it, you will have to upgrade it, and there are tools and means available to simplify it. Let's say database database managed that's where it's a managed service. So something called as managed service. Pass on the version managed services. For example, RDS method managed service. Ada more SQL server version manage karta vi automatic and manage karta to manage kari. AWS will manage it for you as and when new versions, new upgrades are available based on the security patches. It will automatically update it for you within a defined downtime window, or make sure that there is no downtime for you, and automatically the availability zones redundancy build will be taken care. So the managed services jata AWS or the CSP will take care of the version upgrades, OS upgrades and patching. When it is managed by you, right? Tavalavi tumidella manage gelna OS upgrades or version upgrades, patches. But the system has features that will help you simplify it, that will help you plan it, make sure that you can do it with minimal downtime. Right? ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿ ಆನ್ ಪ್ರಮ್ ಜಿಯಾಸ್ನ ಒಂದ್ ಸವಿ ತುಮಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಖಟ್ಟಿಯಾಮನ ಅಪ್ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಕರ್ದವಿ ವೆನ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ ನಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ವಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಮ್ ನಿ so you can keep on, so that's why the innovation becomes faster, one of the USPs of cloud.
Okay, thanks Mahesh. Another question from Jayasurya. Once deploy tenancy region machatam sayya, can we move from one region to other region?
We can do that, but it is not it's a migration by itself. Adavi tumi we want application every free migration kare mari tula application ikka moda hoirasi how bulkier it has become another burti effort change hoy. Okay, ata one simple on application to me define kare one region again it's like you are redoing. There is no straightforward tool to redeploy it because of the various kenadaga karanam kayam because of the reasons that typically more or less tied to on a country governance body mari. So that's why there are no straightforward tools available. You have to again do it like how you are reprovisioning area mari hoy. Okay, so there will be time and effort involved. There is no easy way to move your thing from completely one region to another region. Okay, the redundancy build kare mari application to be build kare tolus by design you are doing it well and good. But for example, it's a I don't know how thoughtfully you ask this question. It's a enterprise problem. For example, on the enterprise, on the startup start kertol to navi on a particular region outside of India also they would have started, but now they may be coming under a regulation which forces them to bring it to India. Telamari kenna manatol region to region, for example on the Malaysia said on region or Australia said on region use kelly India said the customers feed kararas because of the low cost with hulia the India khali unamani mandate audium it involves significant amount of time and effort based on the size of the application, the data that you have. If it's a small application, small amount of data, it's a straightforward thing, simple effort. But larger application, larger things, it's almost like another migration itself.
Magesh, one question. So my IAC sana yavi already mostly me on-prem cloud काम कर लेते हैं Kubernetes pivotal cloud foundry कला मारी but AWS services ने use कर रहे थे तेरनो migration नसी में कर रहे थे IAC tools से use कर रहे थे that moga kale IAC yavi cloud formation Terraform open to Futima the latest IAC sasi hours jesi sako but ekka companies interview sasi kayamanasi tungali TypeScript avi karano many posarasi the TypeScript manasa AWS mo phone service mo use karsi cloud formation mari TypeScript manasa me use kalam saiga kaga nangal ti types.
Hello. Okay, so voice break over here, but I understood your question. Adadavi IAC different IACs ada so cloud formation manatavi AWS own IAC, right? Terraform manata Hasikarp overall industry leader and industry standard, right? So again AWS clients it's easier for you to switch to Azure, it's easier for you to switch to GCP, similarly vice versa also, right? So they have tunka customer kaidi mayas you give them a confidence and reassurance that mo already kalai learning another IAC tool is not a time consuming thing. To IAC sutangan kalana it's a problem, right? For if you ask me more TypeScript more detail kalana, so I will be very honest in telling you that more TypeScript kalana. But I know little bit of Terraform, I know little bit of cloud formation. Maybe it's probably a maximum of 1 week of self learning for you to learn TypeScript. Okay, so give that reassurance. That's more important, that you can confidently learn within a short period of time. Okay, askidanga askiya kalata musunata vishayam. Okay, with the advent of technology, with the fast paced nature how innovations are happening, It's more important that you are strong in foundations. Foundations tunga strong and kalali kolladi ontadamam tumi strong and aski sikle java. Then cross skilling will become easier. Cross skilling is probably easily done, but building up your skill is what is more important on one particular tech stack. Tella full study ke liye ava te hola that teacher cross skill ke liye java tella cross skill karta easy. Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry.
me disconnected. I will.
Yeah,
few
no problem.
answers I will take in YouTube.
Recording Okay, before you guys log off, if you can take a minute to give a survey feedback. Again, we will do it in each session so that tumko kai opinion ni sanguo. Amazon service survey. I didn't have time to spin up a new survey, so ignore the company name just not applicable. Do you want marketing to reach that's fine. You will not be reached out, you will not be contacted. I can assure you that, just for my own data collection perspective. Okay, if you have a couple of minutes more, right, and see the options silly okay, that will be highly beneficial for me, for us as an organizing team. Time when spend code improve helpful and high. All right. If there
Thanks,
are no
Mahesh.
other
Thanks a lot. Quite informative, quite interactive also. Hopefully, we will have more participation in the upcoming session. Other audience, please spread the word through French and Caldo. Next week, join game. So it is going to be more and more informative and interactive. Thanks a lot, Mahesh.
Thanks, Vishnu. Thanks, Grida. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thank
and
you.
Appreciate all of you guys joining and spending time on the weekend, be it US also. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll meet
Thank
you
you.
next week. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, nice session. Bye.